was my number 3.
Yeah, I just think that Joe Young gets buckets. Like, that's, at least in this small sampling of, as you said, other guys trying to get in the league. He's shooting 50%, 45 from 3, and he averaged 22 points a game in that small 5-game sample size. But I just think that, particularly with what the Pacers are trying to do, if he comes in at the 3, even behind Paul George, they just don't lose offense. There's always somebody that can get them a bucket on the floor.
Can they make the playoffs next year?
I say yeah.
Maybe in that 6th through 8th seed, maybe?
Absolutely.
Okay. Quickly, you mentioned a good point. I had that one of my notes. Hibbert going to the Lakers. Do you think... I was a Georgetown fan growing up, Big East fan, growing up, and I hate to see size get traded. I saw Hibbert at one point in time he was flirting with trying to be able to show that he could hit the 3. That kind of went away. I just don't feel like they ever really committed to him. I know in the playoffs, after he had some bad games, they were critical of him. And then the next playoff or the next game, they didn't open up the game by giving him the ball 5 or 6 times and making him feel, like we talked about earlier with business, making him feel a part of the team and a focal point of the team. So do you think that's a good move for Hibbert, or is it a good move for the Lakers? What's your thoughts on that? Trading a 7'2" guy.
I think it is a surprisingly good move for the Pacers. I think it's a good move for Hibbert. I think it'll work out well for him. I don't know what the Lakers are doing. I have no idea what type of offense they're going to try to run this year. The owners and Jeannie and Jerry have all kind of been, we want to run, we want to be up-tempo. So then you bring in Roy Hibbert.
Right.
But I mean, I think, like you were saying, at a point, I think Roy showed real promise, like a legit potential. And it was almost over a summer. Like, he went from really looking kind of aloof on the court to...
Right.
He always kind of tried to play D, but they started featuring him in the post, 3 years ago?
Right.
And then he seemed like... And then he got that big contract.
Mm-hmm.
They re-signed him, gave him that money, which it seemed like he had earned.
I thought so.
Yeah, and I think that he just shrunk in the pressure in the playoffs, and I agree. Like, he didn't deal with that pressure well. Like, he took it. He didn't deal with the criticism. It's like he folded up and was like, well, then I'm just not going to shoot.
And he's one of those cerebral, gentle giant guys. Yeah. And I, like you said, I don't think he ever really recovered from being questioned and called out. And I just think that's unfortunate because, size is just one of those things that you can't coach and teach. And I just thought with the aforementioned Thabeet, I thought he could blossom into something. He hasn't. And I just thought Hibbert did offer some things, but I just felt like the team never really found a way to harness what Hibbert could bring to to a team. So,
and I guess that's one other thing. Is it true? Is it not true? I don't know, but there was definite rumbling of personal issues between him and Paul George, that Paul George may or may not have pursued his Roy Hibbert's at the then time girlfriend.
Yeah, I do vaguely remember that. Okay.
That was while they were amidst that playoff series with Miami.
Right.
He seemed to kind of fall apart when those rumors came out. But he just never recovered, so it seemed more like just a performance thing after that.
Well, the woman thing did undo the Triple J Ranch down in Dallas, an era earlier.
Yeah.
Again, this is the Pay Me No Mind show, One Take Podcast Nation. We have a special guest, Greg Kaysen on today, or G. I I will just real be quick before we move on from point three. Shout out to Popeye Jones being the assistant coach in the Pacers organization. We have some brothers with some. I can't remember the one guy's name up in. Can't. Anyway, I'm just saying we could have a coach named Popeye,
right?
At some point in time. But I just, based on my conversation earlier when I asked you if you could record a show today, I just like to see a brother that maybe it doesn't work out for you in your initial venture and what you initially try to do, but you recover and find another route where you can be successful. So for somebody like Popeye, I can't remember what school he went to, but I know he came into the league and, he toiled, but it looks like he might, one day become a head coach.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 2. What's your second summer league development?
My second point was Emmanuel Mudiay and kind of the affirmation that he is seemingly legit right now. Particularly in comparison to D'Angelo Russell's performance thus far. I like watching Mudiay, and he played overseas in the Congo, I believe, and there wasn't really a whole bunch of tape on him, so there wasn't a lot of footage or people that outside of like him in high school,
right?
People knowing what he was doing or capable of.
Now, did he play in the Congo or China? I know he was in the China championship series. He made an appearance there.
I think he played for both teams, like the Republic of the Congo, and then last year was China. Yeah.
Okay.
Or he split at some point in the season.
Okay. I know it can get complicated. I didn't mean to interrupt your thought,
No,
but
that's absolutely correct. But yeah, I think I was under the belief, as I think most people were, that D'Angelo Russell was the quintessential point guard in those first 10 picks, and the guy that we'd seen, the guy that we knew could pass the ball, was a playmaker, thought about his teammates, and Emmanuel Mudiay came in, and I think his first game, he had 8 assists and had some, first game, 8 points, 3 assists, and I think his decision making was in question.
right.
And he's averaging 6 assists a game, and he is averaging 5 turnovers a game.
Right.
But in his play style, it's very herky-jerk. He's got great change of pace speed, and he's shown to me the ability to be in the paint and not just go for the contested layup, to be able to look to the right, see the guy back left behind him, and dish the ball when it counts. Whereas D'Angelo Russell, he looked a mess those first couple games.
I'm going to be honest, man. I'm not a big Russell fan. And I drunk the Kool-Aid with all of the pre-draft. And, I'm a nobody. I'm just hosting this little podcast in the middle of nowhere. But I just didn't understand what all the clamoring was about with his passing ability. I thought he was more of a scorer at Ohio State. I know he didn't have the best supporting cast at Ohio State with some of the limited guys on there like Sam Thompson and whatnot. I know his points per game kind of came down at the end of the year. And I know in the tournament, he wasn't able to propel them that far as a one-man show. I'm not saying this probably doesn't speak anything to his future in the NBA, but I just felt like he wasn't as proven as everybody was making him out to be.
Yeah.
I will say he has great height. I was very impressed with his maturity and his speaking ability and his thoughtfulness in his one-on-one interviews and everything that preceded the draft. So I am a fan of him in that regard. I just feel like he has some work to do on the court as far as running a team.
Yeah, which was supposed to be his strong point.
Exactly.
And I mean, sure, we can say that some of it is because it's a summer league team. It's 10 other guys that he's never met before.
True.
Probably never even played pickup with. But at the same time, if passing is what you're supposed to be known for, you can't come out and drop 10 turnovers your first game.
Exactly.
Like you can't stink it up like that. And I mean, he settled down towards the end. Like his numbers, he's 12 a game, 3 assists, but he's got 5.2 turnovers a game. And to me, it's not necessarily how many turnovers you have, it's the quality of the decision to make the pass. So he seemed to be forcing a lot of passes.
I was getting ready to say, do you think he could have been drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit on what they're marketing me as this
passer,
dynamic passer? I gotta live up to those expectations.
And I do. Some of them were definitely flashy passes.
Yeah, that's not gonna work in the NBA.
You can't do that in the league. But I just wasn't impressed with him. And I guess to a degree, I agree with what you were saying as far as people just hyping him up to a certain degree. But I think a lot of that's just because he was on TV. Like, he was out of the guys in the draft. He was the point guard that was noticeable, kind of because of Ohio State maybe and them trying to be somebody the past couple of years. But, yeah, I think Emmanuel Mudiay, he's more filled out. He's got an NBA body right now. Like, he can crash with guys.
Right. I agree with you on Mudiay. I wasn't a big fan of him scoring wise. I didn't think the sample size was big enough for him as far as shooting jump shots. But I think for your point guards, any guard that's over 6'3", once you get to 6'4", 6'5", I feel like you can make a way in the league by being highly energetic, active, taking that contact, trying to finish in the lane. I really feel like at 6'4", 6'5", kind of your destiny is kind of in your own hands.
Yeah.
It's gonna be incumbent on you to take the time off in the off season and work on that jump shot, break down your shot. Because I saw him making some shots, but he doesn't seem like a great shooter at this point.
No, yeah, he shot it badly. Summer league.
Okay, then
38% field goals and then 15% from three.
Yeah, that's.
But my thing was like he got to the line. When he was in the paint, he made great decisions to me. Like he didn't seem like. So we talking about tweeners kind of and guys that are big. We're Pistons fans. He didn't seem like Rodney Stuckey to me his first few years in the league.
Got you.
Stuck was never going to be a point guard. He
No.
should have never been handling the ball and making decisions.
No.
But we tried to make him that. I think Mudiay already has the vision, the court vision, the IQ to become a good player. I think the scoring for him will probably come. I don't know if he'll ever be a great shooter.
Right.
But there's a lot of point guards that aren't great shooters that make careers out of it.
I'm thinking Rondo. He could be a bigger Rondo.
Exactly.
And I think it's a bright future for the kid, and it doesn't help that the starter right now in front of him is having these DUIs, and Ty Lawson.
He won't be there.
Right, so he could get some playing time immediately.
Yeah.
My number 2, and I won't even stay long on it because I think we're gonna break down into some Pistons talk in general. I was happy really quickly. Were you surprised at the Lakers going with Russell when Jalil was on the board there?
Yes. But again, like at the time, it made sense to me because of how they've been talking about what type of game they want to play, what type of style. So, and also, that was kind of the question mark. So, you want to play up and down, great. You want somebody that can make decisions, great. But who's going to defend that point guard? That's the knock on D'Angelo Russell. He doesn't move his feet. He doesn't have good lateral quickness. You got to guard Chris Paul,
Westbrook.
Mike Conley, Westbrook. There's a lot of guys out there that are going to try to eat that kid for lunch. And so that was like when Okafor was on the board, you always think back to Pistons, that's on my brain, but Lakers and a history of bigs.
Right.
and they left him. So yeah,
I would have taken